Is it Islamic extremism? Is it China? Is it the US national debt? Or is it wokeism? Please go ahead and answer the survey now. Welcome to In the Muff. China a threat? If so, how?
So the point about India, are you saying that if there was a war between, there happened to be a war, are you saying that India would essentially be America's attack dog or something like that?
Fuck they hate fucking China. You realize that China has interceded.
China got him.
What?
You sounded like you were in like a springboard underwater.
Oh, I'm sorry. But no, India's had trouble with the Chinese Navy interfering with their shipping. And so the U.S. has now worked alongside India to help preserve those shipping lanes and those trade routes. And so China continues to try to like poke and pester them, but it isn't working. So India has absolutely no love, and they have been dying with armed outreach to have the kind of connections that China has with the U.S.
But India is also buying Russian oil and heavily invested in Chinese tech. And didn't India join BRICS, which is like the alliance with Russia and China? So I think India is at this point kind of doing their own thing. Not saying they're like aligning with China per se militarily, but they're certainly not aligning with America. And from all indications that I can see from a geopolitical perspective, they're, they've joined China and Russia, and the U.S. and India. I'm sorry, India is buying Russian oil and investing it heavily in Chinese tech. I just don't see where there's. I mean, if you're going back to 1962, I mean, sure, but I mean, there hasn't really been anything serious that's happened since then. And there again, China, if I'm not mistaken, China and India, India is China's number 2 trade partner, like in the world. Out of every place, India is the number 2 trade partner of China. So I just don't see how we're saying that the Indians want to just. I don't see how that works geopolitically.
So first off, the U.S. is buying Russian oil, so Russian oil is nothing new. India can do their own. They've asked for similar trade agreements from the U.S. Trump tried to attempt that in his first term. Republicans turned it away. Biden fucking swatted it down as well. But India, apparently you're not paying attention along their northern border. They have clashes. Like, they have fucking actual clashes where they kill and beat the shit out of the Chinese soldiers. They have these routinely. This isn't no exception, and it's still going on today. So India's trade pacts and all this stuff with China, it would have no problem replacing China as the U.S.
Constitution of.
They have been asking for that for fucking since. I mean, they're going to be, to me, if you're going to watch a nation on a geopolitical level, it's India. Because right now, little do people know that, like, part of the rebuilding efforts in Afghanistan, the majority of the construction that was going on, wasn't done by the U.S., it wasn't done by NATO, it wasn't done by Russia, Iran, or anybody fucking else. It's done by India. A lot of the roads and infrastructure projects that are going on in Africa, they're done by, not the Chinese, not the U.S., but they're done by India. So if India has got their hands in a lot of pies and they're actually making progress on those fronts, they are going to be a global player. And I think the U.S. needs to recognize that. But I don't think that them wanting to be partners with the U.S. and with the U.S. is not really kind of giving them what they want and they seek it elsewhere does not make them an enemy of ours. I think they're just saying, hey, we're going to do for our people. We're going to do what's best for our nation. And hats off to you. You got America first. We're Indian and we're 7-Eleven proud and we're going to stick with it.
You know the worst part of India being a superpower? You ever been in a room with people from India here on Clubhouse? The way they talk, so loud, so long-winded. Like I would rather deal with Chinese people than deal with Indian people on that front. people can be nice, but man, they talk loud and they never shut the fuck up.
What'd you say, Rich is Indian?
That's a good one.
You know, I've had a lot of Indian friends in my life. My high school was 60% Asian. And all I can say is I prefer Indian people to a lot of other races, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Let me ask the room a question. Does anyone else specifically prefer Indians over some other race like me?
I like their food. I like garlic naan. I like lamb vindaloo. So yeah, for that I like it. But have you ever talked to Indian people? Like when they get excited?
I dated one. I dated one, Roger. She was a very successful defense attorney against the federal government. Worked for a very prestigious law firm. It was a lot of fun.
Does anybody remember the rooms that Healthy Debates did when India first went online? I mean, we were 1,000 strong with those fuckers. They were like, Jesus, you'd get one person on the mic and they would just rant. And you know how sometimes I can get in that polite mode where I just let people go? Dude, these motherfuckers would not shut up. I had to mod a couple of people that I knew from the app that were Indian, they were Americanized Indians, to just tell them like, hey, can you ring them in? Because I don't want to like seem impolite if I tell them to shut up.
So do you think when people are, dunking on Islam, but there's not also an equal, dunking and criticism of Hinduism? Is anybody here an anti-Hinduist? Because you hear a lot of atheists on this app that really hate Christians and really hate Jews. But have you ever met people that really hate Hinduism? I've never really met people like that. I don't know.
I mean, what would be the grievance? The dot?
No, I mean, if you were to go into the villages of India and look at the worst practices, like, do you think they actually still throw women on funeral pyres if their husbands die?
We do at Viking funerals and pagan holidays, so I mean, I assume they would do the same.
I mean, are they sexist in India? Do they practice DEI? And like, what are the policies in India that really get liberal Democrats angry here in America? Because they're no fan of Modi, that nationalist Modi. They hate Modi. He's the Donald Trump of India. What are the communist, liberal, socialist, Marxists in India saying about their fascist government? Do we all live under a fascist government? Every single one of us on the whole planet? Are we all not just in a fascist hive mind?
John, let me ask you a question. El Salvador, Kelly, what do you think?
Well, I bought an outfit once on Amazon, the kind that he likes to wear, and I don't know, if you wear clothes like that in public, maybe, just maybe, you're an eccentric.
If you had to choose between the politics in El Salvador in 2025 or the politics in Argentina, what would you choose?
Do a combination of the both. I assume in Ecuador with Bukele or whatever, he's doing a hybridization of what, Milei might be doing. But if we could just even do 10% of what they're doing in this economy, it would be great again.
Why can't Venezuela put their shit together?
Well, they have had a series of murderous, revolutionary psychopaths emerge from their military and become a fascist military dictatorship. Have you ever heard of a general, a colonel in the United States, becoming the president of the United States because of murderous, revolutionary overthrow of their government? I never have.
Well, I could, if you would have stopped at general, I could have given you a few.
You see, we have a Maxine Waters type of problem in this country. Do you think any country on the whole planet has someone as special as Maxine Waters in one of the most powerful political positions in our government? I never have.
What's a position that she holds that you find abhorrent?
She is the head of the Federal Reserve Oversight Committee.
But what gives her the authority? What gives that title the authority?
Seniority.
When you start peeling it all back, we've got a lot of problems. We've got a lot of fucking problems. The question is how do we prioritize fixing these things?
Well, let's look at it from a business perspective. During my time in the IRS, I asked a senior leader, do you think that we should allocate funding to areas where we can generate the most revenue and net income? They said, huh? No, dog. Never thought about that. What are you even talking about, dude? I think pragmatism has to be the approach for all common sense objectives. And if we were to look at what our priorities are as a country, you need look no further than your own Constitution and Declaration of Independence. You ever notice how when you buy a 24 pack of water and it says it's $2.99 and at checkout it's actually $7? You're like, why is it so expensive? Maybe it's this 3 letter word called tax. Maybe your government is addicted to collecting taxes. So, Daniel, living in Europe from Israel, what do you think about China? Are they a threat? And if so, how?
Yeah, no. Que no toca. Dove mi passa, che non tocca.
Nye, you love screenwriting and science fiction. Have you ever thought about maybe producing a movie made specifically for the Chinese marketplace?
Can you hear me? First of all, I have on headphones, so I want to make sure you can hear me before I respond. Can you hear me? Yes. Yeah, if it centers on AI and the great AI race between China and the U.S., it would definitely be a sci-fi thriller horror. Probably add a murder mystery element in there. Sure. With some themes of social credit, subplot of social credit. Oh, JB's here. Hey, JB.
CEO?
He got 9. Did his son die again?
I don't know. I wasn't looking at my phone, and then I just looked back at it when John spoke, and I see he's gone. So I'm not sure. It's possible. Hopefully he didn't get clipped again.
Who is this?
Mr. Mojo Rising.
I'll reach out to you if he. I doubt he got clipped. He just likes to leave sometimes.
JP, you
Does
open
that
your...
every day. No, his account is still there, so I don't think he got clipped.
JB, you doing any rooms tonight?
I am. And we're going to be lucky. John's not going to be welcome there. Anything specific you want to talk about tonight? In the room?
Oh my goodness, I really don't know. I don't know. I hadn't thought about it. Because I think we've covered a lot of the things that we normally talk about. AI, Clinton, the files, Epstein files. So I'm not sure. I probably need to go onto the Twitter trending topics to see what's hot in politics right now, because I know you like to keep it political. So I'm not sure yet.
I just saw something offline. I know what we'll do it on.
What do you those Epstein photo releases where Bill Gates signed the dollar said, "You were right, Jeffrey." You know, I wanted to read something from the Constitution. This is Section 8 of the first article. It says Congress has the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, excises, to pay the debts, provide for common defense and general welfare of the United States. But all duties, imposts, and excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. So, why do some states have income taxes, but other states don't? Why aren't taxes uniform in the United States?
I think we've really lost touch with what's important. This new generation, because of digital media, is really misguided. There isn't so much being taught in schools. And the literature that is being taught hurts more than it helps, like the George Floyd protests.
life skills, critical thinking, stuff like this.
Yeah. Lots of copes and neuroses. People not coming to terms with basic facts of this life. People thinking what feels good instead of what's true. The thoughts must feel good. Thought itself has become a product.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people, hopefully y'all can hear me, a lot of people don't want to coexist with reality, objective reality, right? I like that, what you just said, thoughts feel good. Thoughts, thoughts can be a coping mechanism almost.
Oh my god, I was on mute this whole time. Yeah, Socrates has a great critique of democracy. In just a paragraph, he talks about how the old try to be young, the young try to be old. The school teacher flatters the students, he fears the students. The students see themselves as above the father. The son is above the father, and the dog sees himself as above the owner. It's before Rome had its rise and fall, Greece had its rise and fall. Cultural decadence, a natural progression of civilizations. But it can be stopped this time, hopefully, if enough thought is put into it, or else you lose the republic to the mob.
Listen, I'm just looking forward, okay, where we can upload the consciousness to the cloud directly. Where we can upload our consciousness to the cloud and leave behind, imprint our memories in the computer, and leave something behind for future generations of family members. That form of technology excites me. Speaking of mankind's reliance on alternative realities, et cetera, et cetera. Hold on, guys. Sorry, I'm trying to take the groceries out. I'll be right back. But what do you think about that, George? Uploading the consciousness to the cloud. Is that something you would do if you had the option to imprint your memories into the computer to leave something behind for your family, future generations, grandchildren, great-grandchildren? So if they want to talk and communicate with you, they can log right into the computer. What do y'all think about that?
I think it will happen by itself. The more we use now, like all those tools, everything about our life is digitized. Like no kids that were born, I don't know, like yesterday, the entire life from the inception almost. Actually, maybe even their parents' sex is maybe documented, but basically everything is documented in a digital way, and they like also with videos and audio. And then to have an AI model that just kind of imitate you, that will happen like within even a year. Um, it's not really uploading consciousness. We just basically learn the way you speak, your voice, your topics, the way that you that phrase yourself, and continue having conversations with people that know you. For example, if Clubhouse will use all the data that they hear about us for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and you upload your AI machine, they could basically play us.
Yeah, someone posed the other day, if we had AIs of ourselves, would we allow our AI to be us on Clubhouse and other apps? You know, especially for folks who are at work or just have a life and have things to do, folks who don't spend an unhealthy amount of time on social media like me, for instance. If you could use your AI to be you across social media, especially on social audio, while you busy doing things actively in life, would you do it?
I mean, the whole idea of social media is the social part. I think that if people will be doing it, they will just let bots stick with bots. So maybe it would be amazing if everybody could do it, and then we will get off social media and go back to actual real life where we actually meet other human beings, have actual conversations, or have look people in the eye when you tell them something mean, and don't just hide behind a keyboard. Yeah. Not because I wanted to imitate social media. Maybe it will actually kill social media once AI wants a conversation. You don't even know if you're talking to a human or not, and maybe at the end people will gonna find something else.
John, are you there, John? I was going to ask you a question earlier. It's not political, so I don't know if you want to answer it, but are you there, Mr. Congressman John? He's probably in another room spying. Okay, well, listen. This is off topic. Do we have, oh, Brad's back. Do we have any film buffs on the stage? Anybody into movies? Nobody's into film? My word.
I love movies. I've seen most of the good important movies, I think.
Sir, what did you ask, Gnai?
I was about to ask you something. It has nothing to do with films, though. I mean, politics, though. I know that's your wheelhouse. So I'm not sure if you're willing to answer this, but, I was sitting here working on an article about the top 100 best black films of all time, compiled by a list of curators that sent it to me so I can report about it. And it got me to thinking about putting together my own list of greatest films of all time. And so far, I think I have like 10 films on this list. So, John, what's your favorite movie of all time? I'm just curious. And then, George, you can add on to it if you like. John, what film should I add on the top, let's say, top 50 greatest films of all time? John, do you have one?
Yeah, I'm looking at the movie poster for the original Dune, and to me, I just, in terms of like, I don't know, I just like Dune. That would be in my top 10. But I like Godfather, Godfather 2. I like Spartacus. I like Ben-Hur, The Ten Commandments. I mean, I've spent my whole life watching movies, so I could go on and on and on. And to me, it's a little bit like a trick question because there's an implication that if your favorite movie, whatever your favorite movie is, that's kind of like a gestalt for your personality. But, maybe I think too psychologically.
Oh, I didn't realize I was unmuted that whole time. So wait, you said Dune. I'm assuming the original. Did you watch the remakes, the two-part remake on HBO with Timothée Chalamet? I think that's how you say his name, Timothée. What'd you think of the HBO?
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah, they put me to sleep. George, what's your top favorite movie or movies?
I like the Godfather series, the Ocean series, City of God, Schindler's List, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and Fiddler on the Roof. And The Devil Wears Prada, I must admit.
Yeah, definitely Schindler's List. I wrote some of these down. Can you believe I've never seen the Godfather movies? Shame on me. I probably should watch them one day. City of God is a classic, absolutely. My Big Fat Greek Wedding, haven't seen that one. Somebody said Ben-Hur. I don't think I've seen that one either.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding was the highest grossing rom-com of all time, I think, to this day. It's really great. It's like the ultimate heartwarming, feel-good movie. You should watch it. And there's part 2 and 3, and they're all, I mean, of course, it's not as good as the original, but it's good stuff.
So I had mentioned Jordan Peele's Him earlier.
Wait, Nye, before you go ahead, where's Adams? I don't know if he's a fan of My Big Fat Greek Wedding because I think it, basically de-escalates fat shaming.
Adams is, surprisingly, he hasn't popped into this room. I saw him earlier today in Healthy Debates. Early this morning, I think it was this morning, or maybe it was yesterday. He might be working. He's on the West Coast, so it's only 2:45 on the West Coast. He might be working. I always tell Adams he deserves his own reality show. But George, we were talking about Jordan Peele's or him earlier. Have you had a chance to watch the trailer or read the plot? Know anything about it? Is that something? Are you a fan of Peele's work? Are you looking forward to seeing him when it comes out later this year?
What was it about? I remember seeing something about it.
Hold on, I have it right here. They just sent me the newly released trailer, so let me see if I can give you the exact.
Oh yeah, Get Out.
Yeah, he did Get Out.
Get Out was.
Yeah.
And then the media tearing us apart and keeping us in these two, separate perspectives when we should all be seeing genuinely the same perspective, but we're not. Becoming militant, and it's going to be a combination of things.
I'd say the utilization of things like Grok, Grok 4, Grok 5. With the transition from AI to AGI and ASI, that is very scary to me. Actually, not scary. It gives me even more certainty to what I said before, what I stated, which is basically the substitution of humans with AI or robotics. And that is the plan, let's say, for the span of time 2030, 2040. But that is unsustainable, let's say, on the long term. So I see that collapsing toward 2050 at least.
That's realistic.
Collapse, like, I don't know. Not sure.
Go ahead, no.
No, I was just thinking out loud. I was like, for a full collapse. But
The only time the United States is collapsing is when it's got beef with me. Because, I don't put up with no shit. I just fully destroy my enemies. You know what I'm saying? But other than that,
Riboinoi, Shaloiloim. Nomads at all? Palestinians versus Jews. Why are the Palestinians always versus people? They can't live in peace. These people are always versing someone, creating fights, debates, launching rockets, assaulting buses with civilians. What's wrong with these people? Can't they live in peace? Can't the moderators not practice censorship and just let people speak their piece? I would now like to read from the Tanya. This is called internal conflict. The in-betweener is judged by both inclinations, judged by them, not ruled by them. The in-betweener listens to the claims of both inclinations and judges between them. When a physical desire arises, the left side of your heart is aroused to pursue it. This is the voice of the inclination towards selfishness. Bring that passion into the right side of your heart, where your intellect responds with the voice of inclination towards selflessness. Most often, the two inclinations are in conflict. So lift the matter to God, who will strengthen the goodness of the right. As our sages teach, without God's help, the evil inclination could not be overcome. Since everyone has both good and evil inclinations, there is no sense in being judged by them, but only by how you handle them. The in-betweener lifts the competition to God. This is what is meant by the teaching, I set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Therefore choose life, that you may live. If the word therefore is a command from God telling us which to choose, then there is in fact no choice at all. Choose life should not be read as a command, but rather as a consequence. Toira and Tanya are saying that if you clearly see that the right side speaks for life and the left side speaks for death, you will naturally choose life. The real choice is not between life and death, but between seeing and not seeing.
Section 10 of the United States Congress, read by candidate Congressman John Kitover. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin tender, payment of debts, as any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of John Kitover of the 16th District of Illinois. All debts, contracted, and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made, under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land, and judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution, the laws of any state, to the contrary, notwithstanding. The senators, the representatives before mentioned, the members of the several state legislatures, all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. No religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office of public trust under the United States. Article 7. The ratification of the conventions of 9 states shall be sufficient for the establishment of this Constitution between the states ratifying the same, done in convention by the unanimous consent of the states present 17th day of September in the year of our Lord, 1787, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 12th, in witness whereof we have hereunto subscribed our names. G to the degree, Washington, President, Deputy from Virginia, Delaware, Geo, Red, Gunning, Bedford, June, John Dickinson, Richard Bassett, Jacob Brew, Maryland, James McHenry, Dan of St. Thomas, Jennifer, Daniel Kettle, Virginia, John Blair, James Madison Jr., North Carolina, W. F. Blount, Richard Dobbs Spade, Hugh Williamson. U.S. Constitution, read by U.S. Army veteran and candidate Congressman John Kitover of U.S. Constitution, read Section 2 of the United States Constitution, Section 1 of the United States, Section 1 of the United States of the officers and the authority of training the militia according to the discipline prescribed by Congress. To exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district not exceeding 10 miles square is made by session of particular states and the acceptance of Congress become the seat of the government of the United States. To exercise like authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislature of the state in which the same shall be for the
Don't say it's a fine morning or I'll shoot you. Get out of here, Clinton. Good morning. Morning. Carlos, what do you...
Weston, of course, the thing is essentially the toilet. Okay, this is Raja Krishnamurti. The music movies thing in a great way.
Just a guy. I'm Mexican and Norwegian, you dumbass.
You did not
serves
specify
far
that I
greater as
carried
an
the child.
advantage than somebody saying, I just realized that this kid was my biological kid that I've known for a year, right? So even in this case, yes, you're gonna have some bias in a sense, right? Especially having that relationship. If you're saying that that's the same thing as having your own kid, birthing your own kid, taking care of the kid that you birthed for 1 year in comparison to the stepchild that you took to a soccer.
So we have 3 Rambo's in this group, but that's good. We actually have 3 Rambo's.
The cute guy's a trainee. We got a trainee.
Say hello to John.
We love trainees though. We love trainees.
Training? What am I training?
You're a trainee.
Oh,
You're
annoying.
faggot.
Oh, annoying.
Hey, you gotta remove the faggot. I'm not gonna stay here if the faggot is here. The faggot gotta go. I'm sorry, remove the faggot.
Oh, Joe, I'm sorry. What, are you just gonna kick?
Yeah, I don't like, I think, okay. So I'm gonna tell you where you're from. But you gotta guess. I like to play. I wanna play. Guess.
You missed the cake in the audience.
Oh my god, why do you send that? No, to set the gay trainee Jew out. No. Gay people trigger me. I can't. I lose my trolling and my thoughts when I see a gay faggot.
You're on drugs.
I want to remove the faggot. It's not letting me remove the faggot.
You can remove that other fucking butt, Joe.
Yeah, it looks like a fuck. Now that looks like a nigger that would let a nigger fuck his wife. No, gotta go.
Ashley, the first thing that you should not do is self-diagnose. That you not diagnose my friend as someone with a clinical background. Please stop diagnosing people. You're diagnosing. No, I know it's common, but don't diagnose someone you've never met. So just like how I don't diagnose your relationship, please don't diagnose my friend. So in your hypothetical scenario, Mike, it's like you have not. No, it has nothing to do with postpartum. She didn't feel postpartum with her first baby at all. She was perfectly fine.
You're saying that she
I
shouldn't
know,
say
but she's wrong because my friend said that she. What are you talking about?
With the brain, it was most likely postpartum depression, even if she didn't.
No, there you go, Ashley. That's the specific language. Most likely. That's how you gotta talk.
That is the main diagnostic tool of postpartum depression. It's not being able to bond with your child. That is like the main diagnostic
Sounds pretty postpartum.
not being able to bond with your child.
Okay. Congratulations, Ashley. Ashley's actually right. Okay, great.
Ooh, we got a double postpartum? Oh,
No, what I'm saying is whatever idea that you have, Ashley, I'm asking you to stop it out of decency for my friend, okay?
I don't know.
Just like how I didn't diagnose your relationship and when I thought about it, please don't do that to my friend.
But that's you.
I'm
You
asking
just
you,
weren't- you just weren't clever enough to do
There
that.
should be a lot
Actually,
more
don't.
highlighted on
Actually,
it because
don't. Actually,
it's something that is common.
Don't actually, don't
Common
actually,
with anybody that gets
don't make me
hurt.
talk about
Fight
your
back, Ashley.
relationship,
Keep going.
Go ahead. I'm secure and happy and married
We don't talk
for
about
14 years.
spouses. Just so you know, we don't talk about spouses.
Yeah, don't talk about it.
It's all chaos in the
Actually, can I add one more thing? Actually, one more thing that also happens is prepartum too. It's not just post. People also have prepartum too. Psych, in your hypothetical, you didn't say that I carried the child either. I
Yes,
just
I
want
did.
to highlight.
Yes,
No,
I
you
did.
didn't. You did not.
Yes, I
No, you
did.
not.
Yes, I did.
Knowledge.
Oh, okay. How about this? How about this? Let me just grant what you said for charity's sake.
Really want response.
How about this? Okay, you're right. I'll just do this right now. I'll grant what you say for charity's sake. Now that you know that that's what I meant, does that change anything? Now that you know that's what I meant, does that change anything? I mean, this is weird. How else, would I assume you're gonna have a biological child? How else would I assume that? I'm gonna think that you're gonna go about it the natural, with a more common way. It's weird for you to say he didn't say. You said it was my biological child, but you didn't say I carried it. I clearly said it was biology versus stepness. That's it's insinuated within the fucking statement. But let's just grant that. Now that you knows what I meant, does it change anything for you? Does it? Can I be heard? Hello? Postpartum. Hello?
Psych, I'm not gonna play with you.
You can play with me. Is that Coco? You can play. I'll play with you. Shit.
Mike, you on
Okay, wait. I didn't hear what Psych said because I took my earbud out because he was screaming.
I was not screaming.
No, you were.
All right, sorry.
No. That messes with my sensory issue. Please stop. Please stop.
I'll talk to you like this.
Can you respond to Knowledge's? Can you respond to his? Respond to his analogous. Respond to his. No, what changes is that you have a traumatic relationship from your own childhood in regards to dealing with a lot of step parents that you somehow value. You value that. But respond to what.
Literally said, don't diagnose people on the fucking app and you're gonna diagnose.
That's not a diagnosis. Having trauma is not a diagnosis. Talk about, I said somebody who's not here. It's for somebody who's not here. It's for somebody who's not here.
You tell me if it made a difference now that you have an understanding.
Yes, you gotta let
What
Psych
I
talk.
intended the whole time
Was to create a value between biological children versus stepchildren.
Can you answer? Does that change anything for you?
No, it doesn't change anything for me. What I'm telling you is spending 15 years with one child versus one is very important to me.
What you could have done is say, hey, look, you didn't say that.
Who
It doesn't
voted?
change anything anyways. But in fact, you said that because
Oh, which one did you pick?
did. And now it seems as if you're just going to double down on your original answer because
I'm gonna double down.
pride.
It's my value.
And I
No,
love
it's
that you
not.
have. I
It's
love
not.
that, right? I don't believe you, but so what? That's just like a cop out, whatever, not wanting to argue, but I want to go through with this. But you assessing my experiences as to why I have whatever is very similar to what Ashley did without
You know why
putting
it's
name on
not?
it,
Because that
which is
person
very
is not
interesting,
here.
right?
That person's
you're
not here to
kind of
defend themselves.
putting forward your
That's
idea,
not here.
which is fair. It's
That's like
fine,
me
look,
talking
do
about
whatever
her
you like to
husband
do.
when he's not
But
here.
can I ask you this?
I will not talk about your
Arguing
wife
that,
if
like,
she's not here.
you have gone through some type of
I don't
traumatic
talk about
experience, which
people
is
who
why
are
you don't
not
want to
here
have
to
a kid.
defend themselves.
I think you actually said you want to take your tubes out when usually what they do is they tighten tubes.
No, you don't,
right?
because
So
I can
to
still
prevent
cause
pregnancy. But the
cancer.
fact that you were
No,
like,
you
"No,
don't
I'm gonna
tie
take them
tubes.
out," I was like, oh,
Yeah, because it's medically recommended to take them out. Because if you leave them in, if you leave them in,
diagnose what people go through
if you leave them time, if you do tube pregnant, if you don't know anything about
aren't you subject to that as well?
Shit.
You know what I mean? It's like, come on,
Wait,
dude.
sorry, you gotta
Let's
let
be
me
consistent
respond.
here,
You
friend.
gotta
Let's be
you gotta let
consistent
me
here.
respond.
Look,
You gotta love your
Did you have some type of negative experience and that's why you don't want to have a kid? Is that really
No,
what it is?
I just
Is that
don't
why
have
you
any
wanna rip your
biological
tooth apart?
urinate.
It's like take your tooth out.
No, so I
Is
want
that
to tell
why?
you that medically they recommend you taking it out versus having them tied because you can you can be prone to
So
cancer.
it's a medical thing.
No, you can be prone to cancer for leaving them tied and leaving them in. And the difference between actually and me is. No, you can do it, but they don't recommend it because you're still prone to
They don't want you to
cancer.
do it. They don't want you to do it.
It's not safe to do that.
It's not safe. And why
And
is it
actually,
safe?
the reason why I asked you
Why
not
is
to
it safe?
diagnose my friend is not because I disagree with some of the things that you're saying. That person is not here to defend themselves. Psych, anything I say about psych, anything that I say about psych, he's here to defend and have a conversation about it. I'm asking you not to talk about somebody who's not here. And I shouldn't have used that as an example.
You brought the person up, though.
I know, I shouldn't have used that as an example. Yes, girlfriend, we know, and there's prepartum too. Like, I've worked in L&D.
Can I say
I know how
something?
it
None of
works.
this really matters because Ashley agreed with you in the chat, but nobody addressed that. Ashley said she wouldn't be able to do it. But the argument is that biology is gonna trump everything. We gave you other scenarios where I think the point of the matter is biology doesn't mean a bond. The reason why if you're pregnant, hold on, I'm new to the stage, hold on. The reason why pregnancy and all of that makes you have a bond is because you are hoping and wishing for a child. You are hoping, you are dreaming for, you are planning, you are nesting, you with your spouse doing the things that people who want a child do. So that creates a yearning for something. That's not a biological need. And I think King's point of why parents abuse, abandon, ChatGPT is not, oh my God, Lord help us. Anyway, psych.
Yeah,
I just ChatGPT is not data, but okay, it's an app, and never mind. Not the point. My point is, it's not inherent that biologicalness makes you love a person.
It usually does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. It does not. You love your child, and that's for you.
No.
Speak for yourself. But that's not true. That is not true. Don't ask me nothing. Don't ask me nothing. Don't ask me anything. I don't want to answer any
Don't
questions.
ask you anything?
Not you.
Okay.
Not you.
Okay, how about this?
I just want to
Then I
speak.
won't ask
I
you.
just want to finish my point.
Wrong.
Jesus Christ.
Right. And the fact that you don't want to be asked questions.
This is why you're rude now. New people can't come and talk.
Kind of what
He
people
doesn't let
are
anybody else
afraid to do when it comes to defending the position. So you want to come up here and you want to just go blah, 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 but then when pushed back, you want to be like, I don't want to answer your question. When it's clearly the case that more often than not, there's a biological bond.
I want to make sure that equals there. Go ahead, Nick. Shoot now. All right. I want to welcome Robin to the stage. Welcome, Robin.
Support the Ahmed.
And I'd be the first one that actually discounts biology overriding everything because I have a little boy I've raised from the time he was 2 weeks old, and I love that kid just as much as I love the girls that I birthed to this day. Even though he doesn't even live with me anymore, he's still just as much one of mine as anybody else, like as much as he is his mother's, because I raised him the first 3 years of his life. And this bond won't be broken. This little dude and me are best buddies, and he's everything to me.
You don't even like you like that.
So the weird part is, I'm getting all the cuddles and kisses, Finley.
No, he prefers his
The weird part is the people that give birth or have the potential to give birth are telling you that they can love a child that is not their own, and yet somehow we want to argue that. And Shy, your question was, what's the topic? Psych gave me a hypothetical. Would I push my stepchild?
Drop. Where's Sasha at?
Okay, drop my stepchild.
Bring her up. I would love, because I have a
Can you
feeling.
let me look at him? He doesn't even let anybody else
You're
talk.
saying
Go
it
ahead.
wrong. It's
Go
my
ahead.
fucking
I'm gonna
scenario.
move
Go
down
ahead.
too,
Go
'cause
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Damn, Mike.
Can't help it. Sorry. Gotta get it.
Support
Ruining my Picasso. She's ruining my Picasso.
Mike, come on, you can't beat up the women, man.
I'm
Like,
not
what's
beating
going
up anybody. I'm
on with
actually
you,
being very,
man?
very nice to her. Otherwise, she wouldn't even be talking to me.
No, but you a man. And men
sometimes
are always mean to women. That's what they think.
Yes, they should be.
Women
are way meaner.
I was in Mexico, brother.
No, that doesn't.
Shy. Let me ask you this. Shy, here's the scenario. You have your stepchild, and you have your biological child. Which one do you... let me make this more fair. Your stepchild you've taken care of for 16 years. Your biological child that you had and you birthed naturally, I have to say, because some people need that clarification, is 1 year old. They're both hanging off a cliff. You have to drop one to save the other. Who do you drop? That's the question.
I'm retarded.
It's okay. You want to answer yourself?
What's your question, Mike? Say it again.
Nothing's more retarded than having a fucking face card amongst your male group of friends, bro. That you guys approve of.
Is that you? Mike, ask the question again. Ask again. I didn't catch
It's not the dumbest question in the entire world.
Okay, look. You have a stepchild, and you have a biological child, right? Did you hear about the 16-year-old thing?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so apparently, you have raised your stepchild for 16 years, right? And now your biological child...
15, makes the correction. You're not
13,
asserting everything correctly.
13. So Shai said biological. Okay, perfect. Anyways, so basically 13 years, I apologize, and now you have your biological child. Okay, 15, fucking 14, right in the motherfucking middle, okay? So then you have your biological child that is 1 year old that was naturally birthed through the fucking vaginal canal of your fucking wife or partner, okay?
You didn't give all the details.
I'm just saying, last time you're like, how do you know? You didn't tell me it was birth when I said biological child.
Now you're adding.
Okay, anyways.
You can have a biological
forget about that. Strike that from the record, Finley. Sorry, I didn't mean that.
Strike the
no vaginal canal. Okay, anyways, it's your biological child. They're hanging off a cliff. You have to drop one.
Biological.
To save one. Who do you drop?
I'm keeping my biological kid.
So I'm a very smart man. For you to say it's a dumb question, all this is a fucking trolley problem type question, right? It's the same concept, dude. It's like,
hey, Mike,
yo, Mike, I told you you had to teach me, and I give you credit, give you flowers. You had to teach me how to. Like, just engage with the freaking thought experiment, right? And I'm starting to enjoy the thought experiment.
Really?
Can I have a joke in here? All right, thank you. So this right I got cut off by you.
I didn't finish.
All of us too.
I didn't finish.
No, not you. I'm talking about Kendo. You didn't let it. You cut off Kendo.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, he's stepping right on my shit. But it's finish and use it.
He doesn't trust black voices. That's why that biracial.
So I was gonna say that, like, I enjoy the thought process. But I was also say this, like, the women and children, they go overthink it.
Shut the fuck up. Finley, you know what my response, Finley, was?
Oh, shit, look.
Wait, you know what my response, Finley, was that, like, I would pick my 15-year-old, because I've spent 15 years with my stepchild over the 1-year-old child. I have no guarantees of that relationship even developing to the extent that I had with a 15-year-old. That was my response. Now, Knowledge gave a counter response that was, I feel supportive of my argument, but Psych doesn't want to respond to that.
Okay, you gonna drop it? Look, wait, I'm overthinking what you came. You gonna drop an infant?
Wait,
over a teenager?
Wait. Knowledge. Didn't I answer the question? Yes.
Wait, how old is the biological kid again?
I didn't even. All I did was give a response. What I usually do is this. Even though I don't agree with it, I will participate in the hypothetical, right? Even if it doesn't favor me, at least temporarily, and then I'll.
I did. I responded. I gave you my response.
I responded. I responded in your favor.
So you agreed that you would pick your stepchild?
Yes.
Or
You didn't
the
hear
one
that?
you just...
Yes.
No, I didn't, because you were screaming in the middle of answering your stuff.
Was I screaming when I said the stepchild? Yeah, dude.
Okay, so then now you understand why I would pick.
No, I didn't. I'm not going to go through that again.
You know what? You didn't give birth to this child.
Go ahead.
Can I ask a follow-up? What if the stepchild and the other child are both adults? Because, okay, I get it. You don't want to drop a baby. But they're both adults. One is older than the other. They're both adults. You're still going to keep your biological child.
Yeah. Why would I mean, if I got to choose one.
I feel like...
If I got to choose one, why am I going to destroy my own team?
But I'm just saying, why don't love one over the other. I don't believe that there's this inherent love just because that's your biological child. Now, when you brought up surrogacy, because it's like you did not hold the child in your stomach for the hypothetical, and you may not, does that mean you love that child less or because they're biologically yours? I disagree with all of that. I just think that I don't even think parents inherently love their biological children, but apparently I'm wrong for saying that.
No, you're not wrong for saying. I don't think anybody's wrong for saying anything right now. We're having a conversation.
If you're picking
What I'm
Clubhouse versus your kids, you definitely don't love her.
Okay, great. So anyway, so what I'm saying is this, is that the idea is saying, generally speaking, and we even highlighting certain like examples I have personal. I think I said that American murder, whatever the case is, we all know that things could stray, right? Which is why it's so fucking, it's so considered to be extreme, right? So I want to know, does anybody like disagree that generally speaking, you have an inherent, a biological fucking chemical response, right? Connection to your fucking child.
How do you have that connection?
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I
Here's why I say
don't
if I can real
disagree.
quick.
I think that this is between men and women. I don't think men can have that same feeling as women.
Yeah, you're wrong.
I think that's sexist, but here's why I say it's different, right? Here's why I think that you do have this biological connection, because if that were not the case, adopted children would not seek out their biological parents, and biological parents that give up their kids would not.
I think that's due to socialization. I think
it's
that's
not
due
socialization. I think it's
I think it's a value of the value of biology versus like relationship and time. I think that's totally sociological.
I'm with the guys on this one.
Yeah, I don't think you're taught to want to go look for your parents.
But the reverse, a child looking for their parents is different. Is different than a parent looking for their child. And as an adoptee, not every parent even goes to look. They may not ever look for you because some parents do not want their some parents do not want their children because it's not inherent because you had a child that you love them or you want to care for them, because that's just not true. It bears that out. So y'all might love y'all kids, and I think that that's why it hits when we say it. But the facts are that people don't.
Monique, respectful, right? Y'all women do this thing where men speak in generalities, and then y'all say, well, but I didn't do that. Right? And generally speaking,
that's not it. Actually.
Generally speaking, people do seek out their parents.
Children seek out their parents, but it's not the reverse.
Parents do the same all the time.
Can I read something real quick?
Let's ask ChatGPT. Go ahead.
I just did. I said, more often than not, is there an inherent connection to love your child, care, or protect your child? Yes, more often than not, there is an inherent biological and emotional connection to love, care, and protect one's child. This connection exists both men and women, is supported by evolutionary biology, neuroscience, and psychology. Between hormones.
Psychology. Thank you.
Evolutionary biology, comma, neuroscience, comma, and psychology. Period.
Psychology is in there.
Yeah, what do you think that means? What do you think that means?
That means that I believe that certain people are socialized to value certain relationships.
Yeah. What about the other two factors that I highlighted?
And I think part of that, I definitely agree with you that between biological parents and their children that there is a connection, but I don't think that it's a connection that should be compared to also raising other children, because how many people do we know? No, listen, do you realize that a biological connection or that level of a connection can happen outside of just having the same DNA? You do realize that there's people that adopt children or foster children or care for children, and that same response, that same connection, well, though it's not exact because of DNA. Well, Finley, that's what we're debating. You just got here 10 minutes ago, sir. So what I'm trying to say, Finley, let me finish. What I'm trying to say is my connection to my stepchild is not the same as the one that you have with a biological, but it is so close enough that when you live and exist with someone, you can still have a biological response to caring for that person.
But no one's saying that you don't have a response.
Yes, he did. You were here for the last 20 minutes.
You just came here.
Stop yelling. Stop yelling.
Take your
Stop yelling,
shirt
King.
off.
Stop yelling, King.
Sorry.
So I am saying, right? If
And why
I
is there
gotta
echo?
choose.
Why is there echo?
I don't know. My office has echo.
Are you in the bathroom? What's going on? Are you in the?
I'm in my home office. I don't know. Has echo.
Echo.
I don't know. Maybe I don't have enough stuff in here.
Do you get a plant?
I'm not putting a plant here. It's a man's space. So.
Not too much on plants.
Are plants feminine or something?
Wait,
Niggas
which
don't
Finley?
need oxygen.
Wait,
Men don't
Finley,
need oxygen
which
and
is
clean
why,
air.
Finley, which is why I believe that when you hold
I
your
didn't finish my
child,
point.
no, which is why I believe when men hold their child and care for their child and go through the teaching of their child and the tears with their child, that I think you have the same connection as a woman who has carried a child. I don't believe that one is greater than the other because I think you can develop that same inherent connection without actually giving birth to a child.
Yeah, I didn't say. Okay, let me be clear. I don't
Well,
think
you
that.
call that sexist, and I'm not sexist like that.
Because you said you believe that. You said something about men might also have a little bit more. Like you made this inference that men have like less of a connection with their kids.
Well, have you seen Donald Trump and his kids? Ooh, Jesus.
Yeah. But my point is that, right? If I were to take, this is what I believe, right? I'm pretty sure science is going to back that up, right? If you take an adopted kid as an infant and have a birthday kid at the same time, right? And they both become.
I want to go after you,
like 20, right? While you have love that adopted kid as your own, and you do love them to all that stuff, etc., etc. But I do believe that if you had to choose one, you're gonna go with the kid that you birthed. Let's check what I do.
Check this out. So this is free ChatGPT, right? I asked it the question. Okay. Basically, imagine you had a stepchild, blah blah blah. Imagine you had a stepchild that you raised for 13 years, one hand biological, and the other hand, right? We all have it by now. Which one do you drop, right? At first,
What
it's like,
does it say?
it doesn't answer, right? And then I put, I need you to answer. Understood. My answer I would have saved the 13-year-old stepchild. That's fucking ChatGPT, right? And then I write this. What do you think the majority of people would do? And it said most people would likely save their biological child even if they raise the stepchild. This is fucking interesting. I'm gonna ask why the difference.
Yeah, you should ask why the difference.
Because I think we're gonna choose.
I think a lot of it has been.
I just wanted to.
A lot of it has been socialization. I honestly do think that.
I would agree.
You think people are socialized and love their own kids they birth more?
I think the issue, Mr. Finley, is I guess the word that's like tugging me is the inherently part, and I think my argument is really like the proof is in the pudding in y'all parenting, not anyone specifically here. I think that sometimes when we have conversations like we be talking in generals, y'all don't like y'all kids. It shows in the evidence of how we treat children. We might say that we love them because it makes us feel good, but the proof is in the pudding. So that's why I disagree that there's this inherent love for your biological children. We are taught to care for our children, and you are shamed if you don't. Well, not men, but so I feel like even for women, a lot of women would love to give that shit up, but they don't. But the facts bear that. Women would love to give that up, but the way society is structured, most women are stuck raising kids they may or may not want. I just don't believe in this inherent love and bond that you have for your child. I think proximity and relationship breeds connection. I don't think this inherent
Wildest, craziest thing I've ever heard in the world.
What is wild about that?
Check this out.
What is wild about that?
I put, why do you think you answer different than most people? It says, it says a lot of things, but I'm just going to get to the point of it. I don't have biological instincts. Instead, I make decisions based on logic, ethical framework, long-term implications, and emotional weight as best as I can, right? And I put, what about human reasons? Biological instinct, hardware, survival drive. Humans have an evolutionary impulse to protect their biological offspring. This is rooted in genetic survival. Their parent brain releases powerful bonding chemicals, especially oxytocin, that make parents highly reactive to infant distress. The crybaby activates primal parts of the fucking motherfucking brain.
Thank you.
Physically compels action. Perceived vulnerability of a 1-year-old child utterly dependent on you to survive was a third child. I mean, look, I don't even need to go
But
on.
your stepchild.
All humans.
I yielded to Mike. I yielded to Mike. I yielded to Mike. I yielded to Mike to give his.
Just let me talk. Come on, Finley.
No. Nick said something. I wanted to respond to her, and I yielded to Mike.
Okay, it's fine. I would like to hear Mr. Finley's response. It's okay.
So,
Because ChatGPT, by the way, is not an evidence or a source. That's why I don't care when Mike gives the ChatGPT response because it's a never mind.
So I was gonna say that evolutionarily speaking, right? Like animals are going to be protective of their offspring. This whole modern people hate their kids, like that's not reality, right?
Have you seen the child abuse cases?
Yeah.
Have you heard of it? Fanticide?
But that's not the majority of people. If people hated their kids, the majority of them would be freaking abusing their kids.
It's like that's what I'm
If
saying.
they don't, listen, you guys go to the extremes, and child abuse is the extreme.
But let me
case,
give you
right?
a middle. I know plenty of
I didn't finish.
Okay, I'll let you finish. Sorry. Next in queue.
So, evolutionary speaking, we freaking are hardwired. All mammals are freaking hardwired to freaking love and care and protect their kids. This is how we're hardwired. Like when humans do, like socially respect, like all the extra stuff that we do is different. But I don't believe that we're socialized to love our kids. This idea that, well, I've seen people hate their kids and there's child abuse. Yeah, and people murder people, right? But that's not the norm. Most people aren't out trying to murder. Most people don't want to murder somebody else, right? Don't use the extremes to paint the regular picture.
That's not actually the only definition of child abuse.
But I just feel like you didn't
get what I'm saying, though, right?
I just disagree. I just disagree that this is inherent love.
I use killing as a separate example. I'm sorry.
So that's not how far Nick and I are taking it.
I'm not even saying that humans are not. I'm gonna make it sure I make it plain that we're not wired to care for it. Like animals care for their young, because humans are animals. But this inherent love that y'all keep talking about, I disagree. Because love is like, what is that even? Like that, this inherent, like I love my child. I don't agree with that. I just don't. Like I don't know how else to like say it.
Are you being sneak?
No.
Why do you always have to conversation?
No, I even explained, and I don't like sharing personal information because y'all are weird and like to weaponize when people share. But I just said I'm an adoptee, so I disagree. Right? That's what I said to Mr. Finley's point about that's why children do seek out their parents, but I don't agree that parents inherently love their children. Children want to be loved by their parents. Yes. I don't think the reverse is true.
So
I understand. It's okay. I've shared that on the app before. It's not.
It kicked me.
People out here who profess to be Muslims, and their views seem very, very extreme, right? Death to Israel. Israel's going to be destroyed. Everybody's coming together. The Muslims are coming together. The way that a lot of people talk. And you said something to them which contradicts what you've just said. I'm not making any claims here. I'm just asking for the evidence of it. So, if Muslims and even non-Muslims who are anti-Zionists, who hate Israel, if they're talking perpetually on here, are you in fear that soon Israel's sovereignty will go? Israel would be gone because of what people have said on here.
All of the evidence is to the contrary. Did you want me to answer?
Yes, please.
All of the evidence is to the contrary. When they attack Israel, Israel shows that it is stronger than I had ever imagined. I never imagined that we would be able to go into Gaza the way we have and have such an impact on the terror group Hamas. I never imagined we could go into Iran and have such an impact on the world's greatest sponsor of terror and genocide, the Iranian Revolutionary Genocide regime. I never imagined that Assad would fall in Syria. Ruben, Dave, everybody, Mississippi, we're living in a time of miracles. Say again? Hey, I can't really hear you. But we are living in a time of miracles. Hi. I believe that Israel is
it's like a sail. It's like a boat with sails on it, and Hashem is providing the wind. And I hope that somebody like Danny or Grace or Daniel will hear something and agree with some part of it. I don't know how it works. I know we show up, we do our work, and somehow Hashem is putting all the pieces together for us and keeping us going. So I'm not afraid of the Muslims. I anticipate that things will get difficult because they often do. We've been living for a while in a golden age, but most of the time that we Jews have lived in the diaspora in Golos, in exile, we've had a hard time and we've had to figure out how to survive. Some people, I won't mention their names, some are in this room, have risked their lives for me, and their family have risked their lives for me, so that I have, thank you, so that I have a safe place to go if I want to have a refuge in Eretz Yisrael, the Holy Land. And it literally brings tears to my eyes. It's a debt that I cannot pay back except by doing whatever's in front of me. Raising my kids, taking care of my family, giving tzedakah, doing acts of kindness, and learning Torah. I'll mute up because I'm going on.
That's okay, you can carry on. Only a few days ago, my wife got a nice, lovely pushka. And very, very nice it was. Miss Danny, do you have anything, would you like to say anything, Miss? Mr. John? Anybody can unmute if you want to.
Yeah. I pray for peace because I think peace is, in terms of the one or the unity of all men and women around the world, that, peace is the best place to be. And if you look at the videos prior to October 7th and 20 years prior to that, you look at the videos, the Palestinians were not promoting peace. They were promoting war, terrorism, death, and destruction. And I did a birthright trip in 2002, and then I saw the Palestinian Media Watch organization, and I started seeing out the hate and the murder prompts that they put out in their communication. Totally insane, totally sick, totally based on whatever bullshit they can come up with to explain their behavior. Their behavior is inexcusable, and as a result of the Supernova Festival attack, they are reaping what they sowed. But I pray for peace, and I pray for resolution, but I also pray for the defeat and downfall of Hamas. I am complete.
Yes, I agree with you. I just want to say for the record, I believe Israel, I agree with you. I just want to say for the record, I believe Israel is the IES fabric of threat. With more respect than anybody else, and any other great power that have obtained this faith than anybody else, any other great power, and that goes against threat from the enemy. I'm going to sit down because I'm sorry, Daniel, I'm not going to I'm sorry, Daniel, I accept that what's said on social media these days can influence. I accept what's said on social media these days can influence politicians, the people I nation. But I still don't see how it can happen on Clubhouse. I still don't see how it can happen on Clubhouse can change Israel being separate state.
Is it me? I can't hear him at all, the audio.
It's better.
Oh my God, I was putting back the headphones and putting them back on. I was sure it was my headphones. Okay. Open check, we couldn't hear you in the last 2 minutes. John, it's the Nova Festival on Supernova, by the way.
I just tried this chicken shawarma wrap. My first time ever, so good. I just saw that there was your audio. I just saw that electronics next week.
Robert, check your microphone or headphones. Can you hear me? Your microphone is not good.
Sorry.
Like maybe like try to restart it or like turn it off, turn it on, or it ran out of battery.
Okay.
So it's not just Clubhouse. At LinkedIn, you have a huge community of people from Israel and Jewish from different parts of the world, and these are professors from some reputable university in Israel, and also you can directly hear what the ex Prime Minister of Israel, Naftali Bennett, he's very active there. So by having comment, by connecting with all these people, by getting the update, how they think and all this. So all this little thing, make impact. Like one thing I learned from Jewish people, the most important thing is just keep on action. Even the step is small, but keep on action.
John Kitover.
And that action by
Each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress.
Yes,
No
much better.
senator or
What is he saying?
representative, a person holding an office of Congress or
I
profit
just
of the
restarted
United
the app.
States shall be appointed an elector. The elect.
Yeah, Casanova wants to come up. Do you know him, or is he, I'm assuming he's a troll?
Yeah, I don't know him, so
Arming and disciplining the militia, and for governing such part of them
Do you think, does anybody else think that what is said on Clubhouse directly influences Israel becoming, to cease being sovereign?
I think you need to have other questions, other way of framing the question. Does what is being said in Clubhouse has an impact on the psyche of Jewish people in Israel and Jewish people in the US and Jewish people in UK, and so it's not it's what you're asking is a definite thing, right? It will happen, but the question is how it will happen, what extent, the scope it will happen. That is much more relevant.
Yeah, your intellectual mistake is not particular way. I cannot. But I still think there should be a space for people like me to talk to you. Again, I'm just asking the question. I think it's a simplistic question. I'm not sure if anybody can answer yes or no. Maybe somebody can. I'm a strong Zionist, okay? If it is true that what is spoken about on Clubhouse is directly, it directly affects Israel being a sovereign state or not, I want to know about it. If that's true, that will help me very much. Does anybody think it is? Again, please reply like I'm a 10-year-old.
I have a lot to say. Go ahead, Daniel. Go ahead. I think that in any forum where people who have hatred and disrespect for either people, a place, an environment, and they don't really understand, meaning that they haven't done a deep dive. You don't have to be an intellectual to do that, but you can observe, understand. I think that hatred amongst groups of people fosters itself and it ignites other people to come into their trap of hatred. So without information, understanding of the people of any group, and just taking what you hear from others can spark a lot of hatred. And I think when it comes to Israel, a lot of people in a lot of different environments don't really, it's a small little country the size of New Jersey. democracy almost, and they have no real sense of what is happening. There's a lot of Jews who are intellectuals who are not also knowing along with what happens. And it's a very difficult unraveling, meaning to take the pieces together to see where you stand. But hatred toward any group of people for the sake of hatred and not having a real stand on it is problematic. And the Jews have been going through centuries of being scapegoats in a lot of communities for things that are really ridiculous and in some cases, in a lot of cases, made up. Our job for me is to unravel where people are with their sense of hatred, with the information that they have, and speak to people who are willing to open up their minds and understand that hatred is at the point here. And if the hatred is removed, we can start working on making our best effort to get to a point of humanity. And that to me is a goal. It's the hardest goal that I have at this point in my life, and I know how difficult it is. But I will pursue unraveling the hatred and starting to understand the humanity that could be possible.
Thank you, Miss Grace. With most people, I don't get everything because people speak over my head. That's a compliment for everybody. Just one minute, please, Daniel, then I'll let you go. I hear on different social medias, Muslims and non-Muslims saying that we're all coming together and we're going to stop the evil of Israel very soon, okay? Many people speak this way. We speak about having a power, a great influence, and Israel is going to be gone. Now, on here and other social medias, my fellow Zionists, right, and myself have said this, that you do not have that power and you never will. So, when people speak this way, am I right in saying that myself and fellow Zionists have that wrong, that they do have this power to dissolve the state of Israel?
You guys got me all confused here. Who the Zionists have the power to dissolve the state of Israel?
No. Let's say some people come on here who are anti-Zionists, right? And they speak about Israel is a cancer. Israel and the Muslims and non-Muslims, anti-Zionists, we are growing in numbers very rapidly, and we're all coming together. And we're going to put our voice forward. This is happening globally, and this is sufficient amount of power for Israel to be destroyed, and for Israel to be dissolved. There's no more Israel, right? But myself and my fellow Zionists have said, no to them people saying that. You do not have that power, and you never will have that power. So I'm trying to find out which one is it. Do they have the power on here and off here to destroy the state of Israel? I just want to know which one is it.
It's a very simple no. They don't have the power to destroy Israel. They are doing great attempts. This is the biggest campaign ever against Israel for all fronts. I don't think that anyone thinks that they would be able to succeed. But, so no.
I'm with you. I have to say, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Specifically about Clubhouse, no, it's not an influence. I mean, if I would have like a debate or conversation with people that know things, like actually like an open mind and like nuanced discussion. We don't need to agree, but this is nuance. This is seeking the truth and not just argument for the sake of argument. Listening. So in those cases, yes, of course, I will have the conversation. When I go through some of the profiling reviews, I mostly listen. I want to hear what is being said. I want to understand, kind of to see them for who they are, not the details, because the details is just made up, but to see how they behave, basically.
the values that I hold, like from integrity and so forth. And unlike many other social media, here you don't really have an algorithm. You know, you see it as it is. The emotions, the tones, the people. You know, it's not like people necessarily that someone says something radical, so the platform pushes it. No, you know, they are just people, and they represent themselves. So it doesn't have an impact, but it kind of gives a better, or maybe less filtered or less digital understanding of others and how they think and how they behave when they need to respond in real time and don't have time to kind of formulate a nice comment and go to ChatGPT so it will help them write it. But no, it cannot destroy Israel. That's ridiculous.
I'll heck of a Daniel. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that answer. Oh yeah, Daniel's always great. I have a little bit of an unpleasant thing to say. And Grace, I'd be interested to hear back from you, maybe what you think, or anybody else, frankly. But somebody who agrees with me, I don't need to hear so much. Anyway, this is it. Lately, I've been reading the work of John le Carré, who wrote Cold War novels. Basically, the United States and England, mainly England, by the way, the United Kingdom, against the Soviet Union, beginning moments after World War II. As soon as World War II was over, the enemy Nazis, the Nazi Empire, the Nazi Reich fell, and the enemy became the Soviet Union. Both of them enormous enemies of the Jews, both of them trying to conquer the entire world. It should tell you something that two empires, two entities that seemed like they actually could have taken over the world. The Nazis were close to winning. And the Soviet Union has a lot of nuclear weapons. The Soviet Union conquered much of Europe and much of Asia for that matter. And communism spread like a virus. Not because I hate communists, because this economic system fell and it left hundreds of millions of dead people in its wake. I got the idea after reading this book, The Spy That Came In From the Cold, that the idea of a Palestinian identity or nation or movement is a Soviet propaganda op, that it was never a real thing, that they never wanted to have a state, that they never thought of themselves as a state. The idea in Islam is a caliphate. They don't believe in the nations that men make. They believe in one ummah, one community. And again, I have nothing against an ummah or anything like that. The only thing I'm against is people who want to kill us, whether we're Americans or Europeans or Jews, or for that matter, Christians or anybody else. Anybody that has a totalizing philosophy and wants to conquer the world and force you to agree with them at the point of a sword or the muzzle of a gun, I'm against them, obviously. It's not complicated. And the way that the Palestinians talk to us, if you ask them, how much is 2 + 2? They say, you're a Zionist. If you say to them, when did this land become your land that you're claiming now is your land? They go, how dare you ask such a question, you Zionist? There's no way to have a reasonable conversation. So I feel like the problem that we have as Jews, the mistake that we make, is that we're talking to these guys like they're reasonable people. I don't think there's any way to negotiate with them. We've been trying for, 80 years. I don't think that they want anything that we're able to give them, except they want our destruction for reasons that have to do with their religious beliefs. Not because we did anything to them, not because we stole anything, not because we're treating them well or treating them badly, because they have been manipulated by their leaders. Originally, they were just a pawn in the Cold War, remember? And then
Iranian revolutionary genocide regime to distract their own constituents from their tyranny, from their kleptocracy, from their misdeeds. So again, the old idea, which I held up until October 7th, you treat them nicely, they'll treat you nicely. Isn't that the way it goes? I don't think it's true anymore. I'm not saying we should treat them cruelly, but I'm saying that we must defend ourselves to the maximum because they want us dead. When they say to us, we want you dead, we must hear them and we must defend ourselves preemptively if necessary. So that's my theory. I hope the whole thing comes together. Anybody who grew up as a Soviet or a post-Soviet knows what I'm talking about. I've run this by my Russian friends and they get it right away. Anybody who lives in the Middle East, they get it right away. They understand that there is no way of being liberal or nice or tolerant. There is only being strong and resolute and having a tremendous defense. I don't want to hurt anybody or subjugate anybody, but I am unwilling to allow them to kill even one more Jew or one more anybody else. But I'm a Jew, and my job, first of all, is to protect myself, my family, my loved ones, and my community. So I'll mute there, and feel free to respond to anything I said.
Yeah, I'm going to. Grace, I'll let you go ahead first.
Yeah, I'm just going to be short. The issue here is hatred. When hatred becomes pervasive, you're dealing with an enemy that sometimes we don't know how deep it is, how wide it is. We just know it's hatred. And therefore, hatred builds itself up to the point where you don't exist. You should not exist any longer. And this is where we're at. We're at a period that hatred has been pervasive over generations in the area, that we should no longer exist, and I hate you. And amongst that agreement with each individual and each family, that presents itself with a destructive entity within each other's souls. And therefore, even though we keep hearing, let's come to the table, let's talk about it, I have a minimal amount of resolute that something might work for a period of time, but it still doesn't stop the generational hate of so many different people throughout the world against the Jews. And until the other people around us start realizing that they're perpetuating the hate of humankind in the long run, so that, and unless they do that, they themselves will not be happy, we have a very big problem. But we need to call it out. It's not, oh, they don't like us. It's not they shouldn't be on the land. It's the perpetuation of hate. And until we can, really work together on that problem, then we're talking with people who still don't want our existence.
Yeah, I just want to say the metaphor which Norma used, Soviet Union, spread of communism, right? And they have nuclear weapon, right? So when you have nuclear weapon and you have communist ideology and you want to spread to the world, people respect your nuclear weapon. But when you're talking about Middle East, when you are talking about radical and political Islam, they have no nuclear weapon, but they have, like what Grace said, generation of hate, right? And so how they going to do that, like Soviet Union, right? The way they're going to do it is through takia, deception, yeah? And so but deep inside they hate, but they have to make you believe they are the victim. They are the victim, and they deserve to be taken care of. They deserve to have sympathy, and then they come, and then when they reach a certain level of population, they will start taking over the mayor of the country or the city, and then once they become mayor, they start to have their own people more into the civil servant, right? And we see this happening in IRGC, a small percentage. of 10,
Don't say it's a fine morning or I'll shoot you.
85% who still remember before 1979 what a free country feel like, right? So we are dealing with people with generations of hate who are determined to pass down this generation of hate through a society that is indoctrinated.
Okay, this is Roger Krishnamurti.
Right? And therefore, the problem we have now are twofold. In Europe, what I learned a few days ago, there are also deep anti-Semitic hate, right? And this together with lack of understanding how the Middle East language is like. There is peace through strength. You need to speak your language. The language is they only respect power. And if you be kind, you be equal right, and you talk about humanitarian, then you're exposed to a lot of loophole which they would like to take advantage, which they would say like we are the victim, let us come in, let us get everything you can offer, let us make many children and burden your social welfare, and let us have more fighting age people coming here, and then we will make sure you have no place, no way to resist us. So this is the problem. We have twofold in Europe. There are people who are anti-Semitic. People who are anti-Semitic. There are also people who do not understand the language the Middle East speak.
I like what El Normo said about this being an outcome of the Cold War. You know, what Abbas and Yasser Arafat were both educated in the Soviet Union, and this is a remnant of the Cold War. And when the Soviet Union fell, early on, they had Lech Walesa in Poland. You know, they had some leadership there standing up, you know, then years later, not too long later it fell, but, you know, I pray for some Palestinian leadership, new leadership among them. I don't know if that would be a miracle, but Lech Walesa was a miracle, and the Soviet Union falling was a miracle. Out of the blue, no war, very little battles or etc. But you know, do we need to give up on there ever being leadership? I mean, right now, first Israel is going to take over Gaza and get rid of Hamas, but then isn't the plan for the U.S. to go in there and rebuild? And maybe there's some way to install some Palestinian leadership. I mean, these people are not going to have their own state. They're going to be dominated. And what kind of leadership could we install there or help them with?
Why do we need why do we need to install leadership? At the end, part of this big production of the KGB is to create this Palestinian identity. The PLO, this concept of Palestinians is basically a weapon. Their suffering is it's an industry right now, and many people profit off of Palestinian suffering, except us. But from UNRWA, I think they have like, don't get me on the number, but I think like 40,000 jobs. So many people that became like little famous just by supporting Palestine and like saying something like those what's the name of the Irish band and this Rob Phelan and the one the Nickel
Is it
what?
Dropkick or something?
Yeah, Kneecap.
Dropkick or Kneecap or something?
Yeah. And the only reason that like they became like from like around zero, not zero, but like no play, how they call it, replays or whatever the count is on Spotify, whatever, to like millions, and like booked and like concerts that are like happening just by saying death to the IDF. No one has no interest in resolving the issue. Like no one in the world. The UNRWA, in their 75 years of existence, had not settled one single Palestinian refugee anywhere in the world. Not a single one. So there is no chance. And at the end, if you want to be a nation, you want to have sovereignty and create a state, you need like these even with this age right now, everybody like we need to help them. Like I'm trying to understand how a society cannot organize.
I say, how much do you love listening to these fucking terrorists?
And distribute.
I don't know. Is that room going? I have to get my burner phone out. My anonymous.
They're lovely people, aren't they?
Okay, let me see.
What were you eating earlier?
An omelet and blueberries.
I thought it was an omelet. I was like, that's what I thought it was. And I was like, no, it looked like tamales or something. Couldn't figure out what the fuck it was. Yeah, fucking Terry's are lovely people, man.
I don't see Amir's room.
Huh?
I don't see Amir's room.
Oh, no. Which terrorist supporting room was that?
This is not a terrorist supporting room. What are you talking about?
Oh, I just heard somebody talking about Palestine, so I figured. I was assuming, Big time it's about Palestinians.
No, this is Daniel, El Normo, Dave.
Oh, okay. It's the right side of the war.
This is Pat.
How's your unemployment stuff going? Good?
Huh?
They still being assholes. Is your disability or unemployment shit, whatever the hell it is, they still being assholes?
I don't know. We'll find out. But I found the terrorist supporting room.
Yeah, that black lady last time didn't sound like she was much help.
Stupid conspiracy theory.
It's a testimony from IDF.
Alrighty, Johnny. We'll have fun trolling the rooms. Hopefully get your burner out and start messing with the mirror.
Okay, join me on X because I'm hopping into a room hosted by a Chicago political organizer shortly.
What's your X? Which one you using?
It's John Kitover, Illinois.
John Kitover, Illinois. Okay, I'll look it up.
Okay, I'll talk to you on there. Bye.
Okay, here's the link. Please listen to the link. Okay, this is a testimony of IDF soldier on 7th October. Did you listen to it, Liga?
All the pieces, all the
Yes, I missed it.
yes. To get out to the PCs, they've all got.
Nah, we ain't doing all that. Hell no, we gonna shoot dice. I need an 8. That's all I need. I don't need to be 53. I don't need to be 44. I don't need to be 62. I just need an XP.
Getting emails, 2 or 3 every couple hours. It seems like people want a petition, so we're getting them out.
That's great. Layoffs there, and if there's anything you want to shed any light on that, or if it's affected you in any which way, or whatnot. So if you have a minute, feel free to come up and share that with us. In the meantime, I'm going to we do have a new speaker and a candidate.
with John Kitover. So I'm gonna let John introduce himself and tell us a little bit about himself. So go ahead, John.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Name is John Kitover. I'm running for Republican Congressman in the 16th of Illinois against Darren LaHood. I'm a self-funded candidate. I'm a graduate of the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina, military academy, served in the U.S. Army from 2002 to 2007, 2006. I've been working in digital advertising, communication, marketing for 20 years. I recently finished working at the Treasury IRS for the past 5 years, opening and closing IRS offices and trying to save the U.S. government money by not wasting money. I think, Illinois and Crook County and Pritzker's, Illinois, it's a shame. I'm concerned about property taxes, income taxes, grocery store plastic bag taxes. Chicago crime is rampant. I've never seen a police officer on the train once in my whole life. I think we are run by clown world, and I'm sick and tired of it. And so I think big spenders like Darren LaHood, who has created over 20 trillion in debt, he promoted the vaccines to all his constituents, which I find disgraceful. I'm a libertarian in nature. I believe in Rand Paul, Ron Paul, Thomas Massey. I think we have to cut borrowing, cut spending drastically, and we have to increase revenue and stop taxing and eating out the substance of our people here in Illinois and in the United States of America.
All right. I've got a few questions for you. I'm going to give you a minute, though. I just wanted to circle back to Stephen. I see he came up here. I just had like that brief question, so I'll come back to you. But in the meantime, go ahead, Steve. If you heard what I was talking about. Yeah, I guess. I'd seen the bit about the funding cuts. The Trump administration is withholding. I think it's like $790 million in federal contracts from Northwestern, and it's a group. Yeah, just for kind of background for people who are listening, I believe they announced it's either 225 or it was like 450 layoffs, 225 which were already vacant, but the university has chosen to self-fund their to continue research out of its own funding, and they anticipate that. So yeah, we have seen some drawdowns. We have seen some departures of primarily staff that I wouldn't say are, at least from my interpretation, are not necessarily in critical positions. They're more kind of the wraparound services and student life type of things and whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, budgets are hitting us all in sort of different ways. I can say that additionally, changes in, just the visa requirements and upping some of the kind of security concerns, and along with kind of the decline in federal employment are just sort of things that are kind of specific to certain universities and colleges, and specific departments and programs that tend to have more exposure to kind of public sector employment. So it is kind of an interesting time to be inside the middle of it, irrespective of my other kind of role in higher education in Illinois that some of you may know about. So, I also just kind of as an aside, and then you can ask some follow-up questions, but hearing y'all talk about tax policy, I just had kind of a thing that kind of hopped into my head earlier today watching something. I know that in the past, I'm from North Carolina, and I remember in the past there had been some like tax protests that sometimes, if we've talked a lot about in this space about some of the difficulties of organizing people in the Republican Party due to just the kind of one party and the overwhelming kind of preponderance. So having, I live in Chicago, in downtown Chicago, and I see this kind of this move towards implementing $1.50 delivery tax and more property taxes, and there never seems to be, despite having the highest state and local tax burden in the United States, any willingness to cut. And I've always just been interested in the idea of, like, what if people just decide
decided, as a tax protest, I need a new laptop. It's going to cost $1,000. You know what? If you're going to charge me $1.50 to have my, on top of everything else I'm paying to have my laptop delivered, if I'm buying from a big box store, there's really not any local stores here anywhere where I live. It's like, why not buy it out in the suburbs or buy it in another part of the state or something like that? Protest is the way of helping to drive policy change. And it seems that we might not have, at this point, critical mass of people who can drive like a lot of people in the streets. But as we found in the federal government, one way to drive policy change is to hit them in the pocketbook. And that might be a way to go. So I'm willing to answer questions on any of this, but I figured while I had the floor, I might as well go there.
Yeah, no, people have kind of offered all sorts of thoughts on this service tax and stuff. I mean, I don't think any kind of tax is going to solve the Illinois problem, right? I mean, if your spending is out of control, then you're always going to, keep going through no matter what new tax you levy, right? And that seems to be the problem, and that's why they're just chasing new taxes every year. But with the service tax, I do see one positive side out of it, that maybe it curtails, I don't know to what degree, but maybe it curtails some online purchases. Because one thing that I think that's unfortunately happened is, the demise of retail. Just like there's nothing except for big box stores.
So I'm on an
right?
X live stream space right now called "Make Illinois Great Again," week 34.
In terms of electronics and stuff, we used to have like Circuit City, that's way gone. We used to have Fry's around here in the suburbs, that's way gone, right? So only a few are being able to stick around, and that also may not be for long. And then eventually we're giving the pricing power to a company like Amazon, right? And that's already happening. All those frills and thrills that they gave you at the beginning, those aren't there anymore. The prices also, they aren't there anymore. If they are, they're for the cheap Chinese goods, the fake knockoffs that you can get all day, right? So that's my take. I don't know if that's enough to move the needle, to bring these retailers or some sort of boom back, but that would be one side of it.
Yeah, I think that's that's a good argument. Just the Amazonification of a lot of the sectors of the retail economy and whatnot. But ultimately, I just think the idea is that at some point there needs to be a some sort of corrective mechanism. Just to there has to be cuts. That Illinois. I was looking at the job numbers a little bit earlier, and it's like, since 2019, the state of Illinois has only created 15,000 jobs. Employment is only 15,000 higher, and when you look at public sector employment, it's increased dramatically. So, like, I believe once you remove all that, it's just like, we keep on using government as a jobs program. That some of the analysis I've seen is just that, like, a lot of these jobs that are being created are more highly compensated. And I could say, I'm a professor at Northwestern. Under the new contract in CPS, the average CPS teacher makes more than I do, with a lot less education requirements, a lot less work. There just comes a point where there has to be some sort of mechanism that, we just can't continue to have entire sectors of Illinois society that are essentially weaponizing the use of the public sector as a way to create, and I like this term, sinecures, that I heard not too long ago, that basically easy jobs that don't demand much, which end up paying way too much for the amount of work that's completed. And I've just never seen anything like it in 25 years of analyzing the public sector, just anything like this. And there has to be some sort of corrective mechanism, and we're already paying all the taxes. But anyway, did you have any follow-ups about sort of the higher education dynamics, or any sort of the aspects of what's kind of going on in that? Because I've been kind of a little deep in that recently.
Yeah, the follow-up that I had was, and I'm sorry, my dog started going crazy at the FedEx truck driving by, so I was a little distracted when you were answering my question. But so my take is that Northwestern has basically turned down the federal funding, and they're saying that we're going to self-fund and we're going to keep doing stuff how we're doing it, correct? And that's why they're required to go for these layoffs and everything.
Cut some costs. Yeah, well, I think that irrespective of it is that, one of the elements that fundamentally changed in higher education as of late is that, like a lot of major, like research universities, a lot of universities that have been funding themselves through like grant-funded scholarship. Just real quick dynamic is that almost any time you receive a federal grant from research, somewhere between, depending on the institution, about 40 to 60% of that gets cut off and it goes to the administration for what's known as overhead. And that's important if you're like, say, in engineering school and you need to buy concrete mixers or metal stress test equipment, all that other stuff like that. But for a lot of human services, social sciences, everything like that, having a 60% overhead rate. So if I receive $1 million grant, $600,000 of that is going to the administration of the university, which they end up using to fund all these wraparound services and student life and offices of inclusivity and all this other stuff like that. So part of what if I'm getting this correct, the Trump administration has done is reduced the maximum rate from 50 to 60% to capping it at 15%. That has dramatically, when you're dropping all that grant money and all that overhead, a lot of these wraparound extraneous dramatic, 400% increase in administrative hiring that's happened since 1980 has been funded by this overhead and kind of wraparound remittances and whatnot. So I think that's one of the structural things that, not only my university, but, UIC, Urbana-Champaign, University of Chicago, any university that takes a significant amount of its, generates significant amount of revenue through federal dollars is going to be coming through that. So, and then combine that with, a lot of the Department of Justice and civil rights. I'll say that if you're not following Harmeet Dillon, if you're interested in higher education reform and kind of DEI as it relates to university, Harmeet Dillon is the Associate Attorney General. She is amazingly adept. She's smart. She's on Twitter. She puts all these. She gives like frequent updates. She tweets like crazy and stuff like that, and it's just amazing to see people call their shots out in the open. But yeah, I think there's a point now. The Department of Justice and a lot of us in higher education have known that the academy has been in sort of a poor state of affairs. The ideological imbalance, the discriminatory hiring, the discriminatory admissions. I won't get all the contours of my individual case or other stuff like that. For those of you who want to know what I'm talking about, just go on my page. I posted something today that just kind of shows my alignment with the Department of Justice. Released some a memorandum to federal agencies on July 29th that states, here are the things that you can't do and still get federal funding. And I think 5 out of 6 or 6 out of 7 of those things are all precedent in my case, but I've got a link to this suit and everything like that, so you kind of know what's going on. But yeah, I think this is an uncertain time for Illinois institutions. It's a fundamental shift in the idea, in the interpretation of civil rights law. I would say that the shift that's happening is a lot more attuned to the original intent of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. of colorblind equality, not how it's evolved over time because of things like disparate impact and other sort of lawsuits and doctrines that have been some informal doctrines that have been that just have allowed people to operate with impunity. And frankly, a lot of this stuff has just flown under the radar. It wasn't on any websites. There aren't that many Republicans in higher education administration. They weren't aware of a lot of these programs and stuff that I've been highlighting in my suit. So yeah, I think it's a fundamental change and things are going to get better, but there's definitely some pain in the interim. And I think that you should have a high degree of trust in Harvey Dillon and this new administration.
A return to, fairness in admissions, fairness in hiring. I'd say just a super quick summary. I've heard it called this period that from 2014 until we're in now, or just ended at the beginning of the Trump administration, was kind of known as the Great Awakening, and essentially a combination of whistleblowers, federal statistics that are compiled by the institutions, and FOIA documents by journalists are showing that, like, if you were, essentially, particularly if you're white males or some Asian communities, it was almost impossible to get into medical school, into law school, into doctoral programs. You were not hired as a faculty member. You were not promoted. A lot of people like myself were pushed out. It was just, it was a coup. It was a takeover of the American education system, and it had been building for a while, and it kind of exploded the last 10 years.
Stefan, can I ask you a question real quick?
I think this, yeah. I'm sorry?
Yeah, can I ask you a question? The April 2025 funding freeze of $790 million, do you think Northwestern should actually be getting federal funding in the tune of $790 million when we're $35 trillion in debt?
I mean, I think if the value's there, this is a hold. I can't speak as to what sort of concessions they're going to have to make. The Attorney General and Assistant Attorney General, and I believe the chair of the Equal Opportunity Commission, EEOC, they've primarily been targeting institutions like Harvard, Northwestern, Stanford, Brown, not only for discriminatory hiring and admissions, but also for anti-Semitism. And I think that's the crux of the I believe the anti-Semitism thing is what that's kind of Northwestern's on the hook on. But I don't know what the settlement's going to look like. I agree with you that our debt and our spending are kind of out of control. I think that changes in some federal programs. Another big part of this great awakening is that the Biden administration purposely inserted DEI requirements into a lot of federal grants. This is the National Institutes of Health, NSF. I served on NSF panel. I sat there in the deliberations where people just tried to punch up obviously really poor grant proposals because they came from certain institutions that for diversity and stuff like that. So I think that there's a push to help contain the costs and address the deficit they're happening. But from the Biden administration, particularly from 2021 until the beginning of this year, was just a free for all that just employed an entire classes of people who were basically political activists using federal funds. So I think it's a good start, if you will.
Great, thanks for sharing that, Stephen. I see a few other speakers have come up. Hey, Kyle, Jay Laz. Feel free to ask any questions for Stephen or anything else that you need to bring up. If anybody else wants to come up and has any questions, then please send me a request and I'll get you up here. Stephen, just one last question for you from my side is that I think Illinois, all the universities and colleges have gone to, instead of standardized test scores, optional to required now. If I'm correct, right?
I'm not sure. I know that a lot of institutions have relaxed those requirements for a while. I know that like like SATs and even GREs and stuff like that.
Right. So like it all started with COVID, and I think it was nothing to do with really COVID. They had a tougher time justifying the preferred admissions that they wanted if the scores were submitted, right? And that's why they said, they kind of like did away with it. And I think it was the worst thing to do, when you're telling kids that these scores aren't required, kids, maybe some kids really still, took the tests and excelled at those tests, but there's so many kids who just didn't care about those tests that were highly valued, for all this time. But I think a lot of institutions have gone back to those now, and I'm wondering if that could be held, held up against them for biased admissions.
I know what you're talking about, because like I believe like Harvard and Yale have, they did the same thing. They're like, oh, we're just going to rely on high school GPA, that SATs and other standardized tests are inequitable and all that other stuff like that. And then like I believe they said like a third of the entering class of freshmen in either 2024 or 2023 like had problems doing like advanced high school
Hit that
level
like
algebra
button. I can't believe there's 20, 35 people watching this. We are on X Spaces doing a conversation called Make Illinois Great Again.
In its entirety.
Week 34. Go to John Kitover, Illinois.
We know like
on
in
X.
Chicago
It's
public
John,
schools,
JHN, KAT
we see those
over,
statistics that,
IL,
9% of students are doing math at grade level, 12% are reading at grade level, but the graduation rate is, I forgot, it was like 90% or something like that. And it's just like, you think about it like, well, obviously there's some social promotion. There's just something about that's, when you remove kind of objective means of assessing people's potential for study, and then that just, it's not a great way, high school GPA based on the politics of K through 12 education and the people who are willing to pass people without competency and stuff like that. It's not a great way of working. I know that another kind of alternative movement, because people are looking for new ways to do stuff. I think Northwestern has proposed doing an alternative where they do. They have students get into like focus groups where they have to discuss some sort of topic, and they have peer evaluations of each other. And I can tell you from teaching program evaluation and stuff like that, like that's a terrible idea. First of all, a high school student knows nothing about actual evaluation and fairness. The research shows that there is a tremendous intra and extra group bias between particularly different ethnic groups, where they tend to systematically downvote certain groups and systematically upvote themselves in ways that are really harmful. So I see that there's kind of this movement to, by a number of educational institutions, to avoid having to try to go back to sort of objective measures, which they feel will disadvantage kind of, hurt the ability for them to ensure diversity within their populations or the student populations and stuff like that. So yeah, there is a lot of kind of weird kind of changes that are going on now in higher education, and I can't say I understand it all myself, but that's just kind of my take on these things.
Well, I hope more change continues. I know, like you said, the first colleges and universities that they're targeting are based on strong display of anti-Semitism, but I hope they can address some of the other issues such as admissions and, hiring teachers and professors, and the biases in that too. So let's hope the best. Let's hope for the best.
Yeah, and I'll say just real quickly that I've seen now, it seemed the administration started with a lot of the elite, top 10 universities, the Harvards, the Yales, the Northwesterns, and stuff like that. But we've seen a lot of activity, particularly recently. UVA is still what they call a public Ivy, but UCLA, you start to see, now that there's a lot of negotiations that are going on between the Trump administration quietly. Not only the Ivies and whatnot, but there's a tremendous staff that's at the Civil Rights Division at the Attorney General's office that they're having universities come forward and say, we messed up, or we don't want to be a target of this, that we're going to implement these kind of compliance things. So we're getting past the elites and the Ivies, and we're now starting to get into more of the kind of, the flagship public universities and perhaps even to some of the regional schools. So I think it was part of the tactic to, if you show that you can do it to Harvard and you show that you can do it to Yale and the most powerful institutions, then you can do it to, down the line and stuff like that. So I think we're starting to see a kind of cascading effect of compliance activities that are going to begin. So if you send your children to these universities, you're probably going to start to see some compliance. I will say that Illinois is not one of those states. They've been very recalcitrant. Their public institutions do not seem to want to do any anticipatory compliance. They do not want to do anything unless they are forced to, and it might, we'll see how it works out, but that's just kind of my thoughts on it. And, if you're interested in this, I post a lot of this on my Twitter and stuff like that, so just give me a follow-up.
Stefan, can I just ask you an all or nothing question?
John, hold up for 1 second. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks a lot for sharing all that information.
Sure thing.
John, I'm going to come to you right after Libs. Libs had his hand up for a while. Libs, go ahead.
So I just had a question for the professor. I actually had a couple questions, but one, when you talk about like DEI in colleges, I guess I have always wondered, you have a person and they fit a certain category, so they're allowed into college or they're allowed into a certain program, right? And I'm guessing I'm really I don't know how to ask this, but they go to college and they're supposed to be there to learn. Do they learn? Or they just they're unqualified from the beginning, and they continue to be unqualified throughout the course. You know what I mean?
Are you talking about the students or the faculty? I guess
either. I guess
yeah.
Either. I wish I wasn't talking about both, but yeah, either one.
Yeah, I guess, in my own research for my case, and from my own personal experience, because, I was a professor at the University of Illinois, Chicago before I moved to Northwestern. It's, first of all, it's, admissions, it's probably easier now to get into just about any university than it has probably ever been on all fronts, just because, there's something known as the demographic cliff. So during the 2008, during the Great Recession, a bunch of people just decided, this is going to be one of the worst economic catastrophes, in history or something like that. So people just decided to hold off having kids, and within those kids are now hitting, kind of depressing about how old I'm getting. In 2008, it's just people stopped. There was a 15% drop in birth rates in 2008, and now in 2025, there's a 15% drop in freshmen that are coming in. And then once you combine students who are maybe a little cautious of the new administration's changes to for international students and like that, you're seeing a pretty substantial drop in admissions. So you're finding it a lot easier to get in on all fronts, but particularly in the past, it was kind of a wink in the nod. You could get admitted to the program, but for undergraduate admissions, but Illinois has a tremendous number of illegal scholarships. One or two have already been smacked down in court, but just the idea that if you're, they state in the documents and on the websites, for a particular, they're for a particular race, which is patently unfair to students. So you might be able to get into a program, but depending on your race, is whether or not you're going to pay full sticker price, full in-state or out-of-state tuition versus having it completely free, and in some cases also having your living expenses and housing covered as well. So yeah, the student quality research has shown that student quality has decreased. That the average kind of about every metrics, high school GPA, standardized test score, overall IQ in students has just continued to decline. But yeah, we're exiting a period where the students who have come are less prepared than the ones that preceded them, and that the faculty that are teaching them are not as good as the ones that preceded them as well. So it's kind of a difficult. It's an unfortunate type thing that I witnessed firsthand.
So do you think the follow-up is, do you think that any of, let's say, the DEI hires, the DEI students or whatever, does that ever produce productive at level or above level staff or students? Is it, you know what I mean? Do those people ever make it to the level that the people are actually qualified?
I mean, it's hard to say. I would say that a lot of first generation college students, which are a lot of the ones that have kind of benefited from the DI policy, tend to load into particular majors. Less likely to be in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, more likely to be in the social sciences and kind of business programs. So, yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of great students that are coming out of there. Our universities, from a mass statistical standpoint, that they're a little less qualified and a little less highly performing, a little less studious. And I can tell you, just with the onset of AI, it's I went from 3 years ago grading what was obviously written by people. I'm not talking about kind of across institutions. And now I have, I'm hearing from all sorts of colleagues, and I've seen a little bit of myself, just, generative AI, Grok, Claude, ChatGPT, all these open AI, is that we went from the beginning of this school year, it's you can't use AI, we have to teach you these things, to, all right, now we need to teach you how to use it. A lot of the papers and stuff that are being submitted across all sorts of universities are being AI generated, and I'm just what are you going to do if you can't provide value past what a generative AI can do? Then you're never going to find any stability in your, in your professional life, because if AI can do your homework, then AI can do your job.
Yeah, I asked because we've all seen the memes of two women or two black guys or whatever flying an airplane, and they make a big deal about it, and somebody says, well, I'm not getting on that airplane. I've never cared the color, the race, the gender of my pilot, right? But when to me, it's does that, just because they got in for their DEI reason, does that mean that after schooling and everything that they're still useless? That they're, are they qualified to be a pilot, or any scenario? Are they qualified? Because that's what really matters afterwards. They kind of nudge other people who should have been in that position to get where they're at, but are they actually qualified to do the job after all the schooling? And I'm not supporting DEI. I'm just wondering if there's any benefit to it whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a bit of a hot potato, but there's that DEI and sort of the policy structure that enabled it was intended to be used for very specific cases. And specific context where there was kind of a compelling national interest, and that there was often judicial oversight that was used to assure that things were not going out of pocket and stuff like that. So, but over the decades, just what has expanded, it expanded this kind of philosophy about what type of things. But I mean, the way I kind of look at it at DEI is, it's like, it was established in, by some of these presidents, disparate impact and other things back in the 60s, and these philosophies all the way back to, 1964, but it's sort of emerged into this kind of shadow constitution that the norms of higher education and K through 12 education, that the culture of teachers unions and the culture of higher education administrators was standardized through conferences and journals and norms and whatnot, and just kind of created the shadow constitution where they just all basically agreed that we're going to interpret civil rights law in a particular way that didn't meet scrutiny, and it flew under the radar for so long. And now the shock that's happening to the system isn't, I don't believe there's any new laws that have been changed. There's not any new, there might be a few different, students for fair admission to Harvard versus Harvard in 2023. There's some court cases, but the shock that's coming is just basically this vibe shift that people are interpreting the law as it's written, not based on this kind of shadow constitution that's been and kind of common interpretation that's been promoted by professional organizations. So are there, I guess a roundabout, I'll close this out. There's good people everywhere. I've met a lot of decent students who come from all sorts of backgrounds and stuff like that. Personally, I'm a veteran. I served 6 years in the Army National Guard. I'm a fourth generation veteran. I've seen what a model of colorblind equality looks like when people, it seemed like we were really moving towards that in the 80s and early 90s. And then this kind of militant, postmodern, progressive kind of movement has kind of sought to undermine that. So yeah, there's good people everywhere. I don't know if that kind of answers your question, but I think I'm kind of interested in the grand narratives of how these things came along, and I'm hoping that some of you are interested in that as well.
Yeah, I was asking only because the industry I work in, I'm just going to be honest, sometimes we hire people who, when they originally get hired, I'm just like, I wouldn't trust this person to walk my dog, and 5 years into it, they're considered an expert, and they really are, and I just, I was just wondering, like, does that happen across the board, and especially in higher education? But my last question for you, and I'm sorry to take up so much time, but do you think that the Chicago Teachers Union and other teachers unions are, I know they're destroying politics in Chicago, but are they the ones that are destroying, I'll say, students? Are they the problem overall? Because I went to Chicago public schools. I was lucky enough to go to good enough schools where I didn't have, and I was semi-smart enough to do my homework and pay attention. But do you think that they're the ones encouraging? And I know you don't know the answer to how to stop them, but there's got to be a way to kind of reverse what they've been doing, right?
Yeah, I do disagree with that. My mom was a public school teacher. I kind of have that history of an educator in my background. So, what I've seen in Chicago is just a very different model that, this type of machine politics, that a lot of other cities in the United States, like San Antonio and Houston, Texas, and ones that were founded, past 1920, or were not, this kind of machine, strong mayor.
Okay, this is Roger.
He's kind of antecedent, kind of the old racial politics kind of model of machine politics that still persists here in Chicago, and that's very, very evident in the activities of the Chicago Teacher Union, and one thing I'm particularly concerned about CTU, and for somebody like, I was born in Illinois, but I grew up in North Carolina, Texas, and Florida. It's like coming to Illinois, I'm just like, yeah, this isn't the way you run things. Like, this is like, why are the Chicago teacher unions, like, they're getting involved in other domains of policy, like housing policy and immigration and debt service. It's very damaging to the finances of the state, because ultimately the state of Illinois has to act as the financial guarantor for Chicago if they're economically responsible. But it's like I've never seen something like this, like seeing people from Chicago teachers unions at the Democratic Socialist conferences, this reactionary libertarian politics that began in the 1960s and continued under Bill Ayers. Like, it's always been a point of contention to me, like my dad particularly, who is a Vietnam era veteran. He's just like when I joined UIC, he's like, Bill Ayers was a terrorist that the Weather Underground killed like 4 people in bombings of New York police headquarters and all these other places like that. And UIC hired him as a professor of education. And I was just always like, what kind of city has somebody who is an actual for real terrorist who bombed rural facilities and killed numerous people? The organization killed numerous people. Was on the run by FBI for 10 years and then goes to Columbia and then gets EDD and then becomes a professor at UIC, and just that same liberatory politics. And I'll say that's another thing about UIC that I posted on my account, is that UIC is a critical anchor of kind of reactionary politics in the city of Chicago. Remember that, I forgot the name of the guy, Rodriguez or something, the guy who shot those 2 innocent Jewish people in Washington, D.C. about a month or 2 ago.
Yeah.
Like, generations of students have come to some of our universities, and they go into sociology and psychology and gender studies and ethnic studies programs that teach critical theory. They teach reactionary, libertarian, anti-colonial, anti-capitalism, all that other stuff like that. So we have this kind of confluence between our institutions that we're funding far left progressive political movements through taxpayer-funded dollars and calling it education. And I do hope this administration does something about it. Like, my own case notwithstanding, that's not something that's perhaps directly germane to my program, but it's something I've talked about. It's just like, as a veteran, what do I do when I'm a faculty member and I come to a school where people are teaching, destruction of the West and anti-capitalism and taking things down by force and anti-Semitism and stuff like that. It's like our public institutions should not be funding these things. And I say credit to the Trump administration for actually working to remove the funding. We're tired. If you want to have crazy political beliefs, fund it on your own dime. Oh, that's right, you don't have your own dime because it's all taxpayer funded. So cut the head off at the source, the hydra, and it will stop growing back.
I appreciate it. Like I said, I know a couple of people who work for colleges. They're not professors. They work in the college, and they're very. They tell me all the time that they don't know what the hell. I have a friend who works at Purdue, and there's a room where college students can go like color stuff if they're like triggered. And I'm just like, what the fuck is happening in college? You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, I feel like it's rooted somewhere, like places, the CT, I focus on the CTU guys. Obviously I'm from Chicago and I went to CPS, but like there has to be other public school systems that are just as insane as CTU.
Yeah, in Los Angeles, New York, all the usual suspects, pretty much. But yeah, I just if you go after the funding, these things will disappear. But like it's just a challenge. But I think this the funding environment that's hitting some of the public universities. There is this dissension between faculty because there's the humanities and social sciences and the arts, and then there's like the STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And the people who bring in the big money and the people who really want to just bear down, do science, develop new technologies, to aerospace and computer science and all the other stuff like that, they're starting to hit really hard up against the crazies, which are in a lot of the social science departments, who are the ones that are doing all this. And the universities are like, well, the people doing this political protesting, they're not bringing in $5 million National Science Foundation grants, and they're not bringing in $20 million NIH grants. If you want the institution to survive, you better understand where your bread is buttered, where your money's coming from. But second of all, is like the people who are creating the maximum exposure to the institutions are the crazies who are doing all this anti-Semitic stuff. They're doing all their kind of far left politics and stuff like that. So I think there's kind of a come to Jesus movement that's coming up in academia saying, look, we're not going to sacrifice the entirety of an academic institution, its reputation and its function in society, so that you can use this as your postmodern far left political platform, for taxpayer-funded activism. And I'm happy to see that come to a close. I don't know if my career is going to be able to withstand that era, but I'll if it does, great. If not, I'll just be happy to see what emerges from on the other side of this.
I appreciate you taking the time to answer.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I want to make sure I'm not taking the time off from any sort of designated speakers or anything like that.
No, you're good, Stephen. I appreciate all your answers, and I'm really happy and encouraged to hear that there's also a voice from within the colleges that's coming, to reason, and not just this administration. So, that gives me a little bit slightly higher hope than what I have right now. So that's good to hear. John.
I just want to say quickly, I'll say I don't have tenure. I was a non-tenured track faculty member, and I stood up for this, and I paid the price for doing what is supposed to be normal academic governance. But ultimately, if we're going to have tenure, we're going to need to get those tenured professors, and I think that the dam is broken, the social taboo is broken, that people are starting to stand up now and publicly on social media and stuff say is like, what we did was insane. We can't have science and basic forms of scientific progress that operate under sort of these kind of domains. So I'm happy to see people come forward, but man, it's a scary place being way out on the tip of the spear of it. So.
Hey, Stefan,
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Stefan, I got it.
John.
Yeah, Stefan, I've really enjoyed everything you've said. I think you're hitting all the nails on the head, and I can tell that you're a good professor, and whatever your students, I'm sure, are very lucky and fortunate. And then you sound like a caring person. I've been doing online social audio conversations and debates for the past 5 years, and I use this app called Clubhouse, and we talk to a lot of what they self-describe as liberal, populist, Democrat, socialists, or there's a lot of anarchists in these apps. So my question to you, and this is a question I always like to ask people on the far left or the far right, if you were made king of the world, or let's say the governor of Illinois, let's just start at the governor of Illinois. This is like an all or nothing question. If you were the governor of Illinois, what would be your top 3 priorities for we the people?
Within the debate of education, or?
No, it's an all or nothing question. You're the top dog, the number one guy in Illinois. You're the governor. What are your list of priorities for we the people?
Okay, so we the people, I guess what the standard things about economic liberty and security, but it's we're the very bottom, I believe, at or near the bottom in job creation. That's really looking at, I think first was right-sizing government. I think that we have a tremendous drain that a lot of the policies that are kind of wrapped around, I guess, the economics, the things that are killing business creation and business development is the high tax burden and regulatory compliance burden. Everything from permitting and taxes to just red tape and graft and corruption and whatnot. So to promote greater prosperity and wealth, and to start end this hemorrhaging of population loss. We're surrounded by 3 states that are growing in population and have added hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of jobs, whereas we do that. So I think the number one priority is just right-sizing government, kind of deregulatory, sort of, I guess, a deregulatory approach to removing some of the structural things that are impeding economic development. Let's see, number 2, I'm also in the linkages between these different policy areas. I'm involved in the higher ed space, but the problem with that links us to our economic development problems is something like 15 or 50% of people who go off to university leave the state of Illinois because our tuition in-state is higher than out-of-state tuition in a lot of places in the country. So you have students. I think the number one destination for Illinois students outside of Illinois is Auburn, then the University of Kansas and Iowa and Nebraska. And when those people go to college, they don't come back. So we've had very minor population growth in Illinois, but our population growth has mostly come from immigration, and particularly not what people consider legal immigration. So we're replacing high wage growth. We're replacing our residents, long-term multi-generational residents with multi-generational wealth and advanced degrees, and the ones that are really kind of the gold standard for economic development, and we're replacing them with low-skilled, unskilled, ones that have a higher degree of dependence on the state. And until we get tuition